everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Four Guys Talking Sports, the podcast. My name is Luke Lagrano.
I'm Ryan Hicks.
I'm David Acasella.
And I'm Lawrence Lagrano.
Welcome back, boys. Happy to see you.
We're here. Another big week in sports.
It's always a big week in sports
It
when
is
you're
always a
done,
big week.
baby.
Super
All right.
happy that the Mets made the news so I can waste another half hour of my life listening to three of you go on and on and on. Can't wait.
Ryan, let's just get it out of the way now so you don't have to listen to it later.
Might
Let's
as well.
start today's show with today's big news for the three of us. Mickey Callaway has been relieved of his duties as the manager of the New York Mets. Brody Van Wagenen went to Florida to let Mickey know the news. Callaway spent 2 years with the Mets, finishing with a record of 163 and 161. And he had 1 year left on his contract. Lawrence and David, is there any remorse to see Mickey leave New York?
Wait, you don't want Ryan to start? Are you sure? I'll go. I just, I wanted to give him the floor if he needed it.
I need a bit of
things to get off his chest.
I just want to say how hysterical I think it is that we assured Ryan last week that this wasn't going to happen, that we weren't going to bring up the Mets at all. They're like, no, the season's over. There's no baseball left. We won't talk about the Mets. And here we are once again with, them being the baseball story of the day, essentially.
It's the lead. It's the goddamn
It's the lead.
podcast.
Yeah, the lead of the show.
All right, enough beating around the bush. Talk about it so we can move on to something more interesting.
I think it had to happen. It's the right move to get rid of him, but it's not the right move if it's not a more experienced manager coming in. Like if we hired David Wright, I don't know. I'm gonna jump out the window. It's just because you're not improving.
I agree with that, and listen, Callaway finished a game over 500 for his 2-year career on the Mets. He really improved the team this year. We were in the 70s in the win column, and now we finished this year at 86 and math 76. So no, I think that's still wrong, but that's fine. We're gonna move past it.
Same idea.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, David. I think that they probably did this for the experience factor and to get a head coach to really, that's tough to say too, because I think Mickey did rally the players and the clubhouse. A lot of people said he was a player's manager, but he was definitely inexperienced when it came to making game decisions, and it really showed. I mean, this time last year, we skipped someone in the lineup, for God's sake. I mean, that can't happen, man. That can't happen. So I think David's right. I think they come off as winners. We don't know if they'll be winners, but they come off as winners if they get Madden, not likely, but Girardi or Showalter, right? If they do go the David Wright route or the David Cohn route or the Carlos Beltran route or any of the names that, these writers are throwing around, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be good because, like you said, we've gone from a manager that was really inexperienced and couldn't manage a game to potentially another manager that will be inexperienced and won't be able to manage a game.
I don't want to just throw in instability to this team for no reason. I'm not saying he's the smartest guy in the world. And like you said, with game time decisions, especially playing National League ball, because I think it took him a year to learn how the National League works because he didn't really understand what a double switch. And this season, I think he double switched every game this season because he was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can do this whenever I want. But I mean, do you remember back at that loss in Chicago when he flipped out on that reporter and Jason Vargas threatened to beat the shit out of him, whatever the line was? Did you see the winning streak they won right after that? You know what I mean? So he has the ability to, or did have the ability to pump up the team. It just comes with, this seems to be the roster, at least the ownership and the management thinks this is a playoff caliber roster talent-wise. You just need the guy to bring the ship there.
Agreed.
Well,
the payroll's only going up. We know the Wilpons don't like to spend money. Yeah, Ryan agrees.
Of course. Yeah,
we're just double checking to make sure Ryan's still there. There are some questions that people have about these more experienced managers, and while they are the preferred people to come in, these guys are old. Joe Girardi wasn't really a player's manager like Callaway was supposed to be, and that's a big concern because there's a lot of big personalities in New York. You have Noah Syndergaard, you have Ramos, You've had guys in the past like Reyes. New York's typically full of a lot of big personalities where people want what they want. So I think a big concern people have been talking about is maybe these guys need to lay off the gas a little bit, and I'm not sure if they'll be able to. Obviously, I'd love for Joe Girardi to come in. He's my preferred candidate. I'd really rather not see Carlos Beltran in there. I don't think baseball is the sport where you look for your next Sean McVay. But I think Joe Girardi is the best possible scenario. It's just a matter of time whether or not he A, comes to New York, because it looks like this is his offer to turn down, and B, if he can rally behind the new game of baseball. All right.
It's become very analytical.
It has. All about the analytics. And the Mets are not a very analytical team. They kind of like analytics, but they're not really sure. So we'll see as the days progress. So in other baseball news, we are in the MLB playoffs. The Nationals overcame the Brewers late to win the NL wildcard game, and the Rays won decisively against the A's. David, I know you're watching the game right now, but do you have any big takeaways from these two teams? Do you think that these two teams have any shot in the playoffs?
The Braves and Cardinals, you're saying?
The Rays and the Nationals, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I think they both have some opportunity to really make some moves because their pitching staffs are both extremely effective. And I mean, the Nationals are facing the best team in the league. Well, they're both really essentially facing the best teams in their league. Although I would say the Yankees are better than the Astros if I had to pick a team. But Tampa, I think, I don't know at the end of the year if they did, but through most of the year, they had the lowest team ERA of any team. And that's a big deal when you get playoffs-wise. And the Nationals had 3 stud starters. Like, Corbin goes and throws a shutout tonight. Now you have the Nationals up 1-0 in a 5-game series. And, where do you go from there?
Ryan, did you say that R.A. Dickey's in the Braves bullpen?
What?
Yeah, I was just double checking to see if you're paying attention. Yeah, R.A. Dickey's we're just trying to entertain Ryan while he's here.
I actually just Googled R.A. Dickey when you said that.
It's okay, because in about 2 months, the Red Sox are going to be all over the headlines in the offseason because their current free agent situation is an absolute mess. So give it a couple months.
Which we have something to discuss about that in Mailbag.
Oh, great.
Just you hold your horses, Ryan. We'll get to you very shortly. All right. Anything else to talk about in the MLB, or are we good to talk some football?
Football.
Let's talk some football. All right, the big story this week is Vikings wide receiver Stefon Diggs. Diggs has had a noticeable drop in targets so far this season, and all signs point to him being traded out of Minnesota. So, Ryan, let's get you re-involved. Let's start with you. Where does Diggs end his season?
So I've gone back and forth on this a lot. If we had recorded yesterday, I would have said that he's going to be on a different team, ideally the New England Patriots by the end of the day. However, the reports are trickling out more and more today, especially with him returning to practice, that while he may be unhappy and he's going to sulk at his interviews, it doesn't sound like the Vikings are willing to deal him unless it is a sweet package. And I don't think that Bill Belichick is willing to give up a sweet package at the moment. So I think he finishes the year with the Vikings just based on what I believe the asking price is for him. And those teams that have been thrown around, I don't think would be willing to throw that first-round pick that the Vikings seem to be looking for. So I think he sulks and he mopes and he doesn't have a great year, but he ends up as a Viking.
Lawrence?
It's tough. He's got a monster contract too.
Yes, huge.
But we're really seeing, and granted, Ramsey hasn't been traded since the last time we did a show, but
True.
It's feeling like the players are getting more leverage by the day. But the Vikings can totally keep him, and he could totally suck. And Luke, you were right; his targets have sunk, and Thielen's targets have sunk, and Thielen's called out Cousins. But Diggs just seems like he's taking the baby route here and kind of moping, saying that rumors are true and all this, crap that he's in the news for. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation in Minnesota right now. They're running the ball a lot, so their pass catchers are obviously not pleased.
Did you guys see the video going around on Twitter of Kirk Cousins doing his gender reveal and almost missing the cardboard box that he was trying to throw the gender reveal football at?
No.
No way.
And the target's like when Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs go to bed and close their eyes, this is what they see every night. And it's Cousins just like hitting like the corner of the box and the actual ground, like totally almost misses it. It's hilarious. But I think that this team, who was a very good football team, has had a weird year, a very weird year. And any team that wants to sign Kirk Cousins or have him play for them, I don't know.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
Can I switch sports here for a second?
Sure.
For a second? Yeah, sure.
Perfect, because Artemi Panarin, as we speak, just scored his first goal for the New York Rangers.
Oh, that's cute.
They're up 2-1 against Winnipeg, and I'm all excited. And that's if you're watching this on YouTube and you saw my hands fly up in the air. But it was a rebound that came loose just around the dot where you normally see him live on the power play, and he put it right past Hellebuck. It's beautiful. All right, sorry,
That's
football.
awesome.
Good breaking news.
So happy right now. Oh, my God.
The first of many.
To watch.
We're excited here.
David-
Luke's even wearing his Rangers jersey.
I am.
Right here.
Lawrence has got a shirt on.
I just got a Cranford shirt on.
Yeah, that's right.
Orange.
David, do you want to weigh on this?
I mean, aren't you glad that the Jets didn't sign Kirk Cousins last year?
Thank our lucky stars every day, Dave. Me and Lawrence have talked about this more than once.
Yeah, no, he just seems like, a bust. You know, he has the ability to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a game, but then when he plays teams like the Chicago Bears, or I can't remember the other team they lost to, but it was a decent team because they're 2-2 right now. He just, he shuts down. He doesn't have the ability to beat over 500 teams, which is how I knew when he beat the Falcons in Week 1 that they were going to be a bad team.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a Kirk Cousins problem. This is definitely not a Minnesota Vikings problem. So I think all of you guys have hit this on the head. I think we see Diggs stick this one out. Hopefully, Kirk fixes this problem because his receivers are suffering, his team is unhappy, and the Vikings don't look like the Minnesota Miracle that we once saw.
I don't know.
No, not the same team at all.
All right.
Poor Case Keenum can't even keep a starting job on the Washington Redskins of all teams. I mean, it has really gone downhill for everyone involved.
We've seen some just terrible contracts that just don't look like they're paying off, and I feel bad because I really like the two of these guys. But what are you gonna do?
I think that's what's so interesting about the NFL as a whole, though, is it's this constant need for your quarterback. And there's so many teams, that middle of the pack / low tier team that's not getting the first couple draft picks or not in a draft with a strong quarterback class, that you scramble to sign guys. And that's how you get these like Case Keenums or these Kirk Cousins who make a ton of money. Even Fitzmagic, who have one good season, make a ton of money. Teams hope and pray that it's this. But what those teams are doing is they're just treading water. You're making no progress as a team by signing that tier of quarterbacks and just letting your team tread water. Like, you're going to waste Thielen and Diggs, who should be a sick 1-2 punch in the league, because Kirk Cousins can't even complete a gender reveal, let alone a pass in the NFL.
At the time of his signing, though, he had potential to hit that top tier, though, because of what he was before that. But if you look closely at his career, he always loses the big games. Sometimes he'll pop off. And he'll usually pop off against the bad teams because they're bullies at home, this Vikings team. When they're at home, they beat up on guys. But when they have to go to the road and go play a cold game in Chicago, or I still can't remember the other team they beat, I was going to reference, or they lost to, I was going to reference it. But can you guys remember who it was? Yeah, not off the top of my head.
You're alone on this island.
Yeah, I know. So, but, I mean, same idea. They're going to bully people at home. And he's going to play well there, but when they go on the road, it's not going to work out.
Yep.
All right. So, while we're on the NFL, let's go into our pick predictions. We're still doing these weekly pick predictions for the NFL. And here are our updated standings.
Did you think we were
David
gonna
is
stop?
first place with 10 points. No, David, I didn't think we were going to stop. David is in first place with 10 points. Lawrence is in second with 5. Ryan is in third place with 4. And I am still dead last with 0 points.
Loser.
Yep, the good old reverse sweep. Everyone loves to see it. All right, David, you're still our leader. David, start us off with your 1-point pick.
All right, the 1-point pick. So when I did my picks this week, I was looking, and there was really only 2 games that I loved. So for my third pick, I just decided to take my team and the Colts getting 11 points because it's a big number, and I feel like they can totally hang with the Chiefs. They're probably not going to win the football game. They could, who knows? Anybody can win a game. I don't think they're going to win, though, but I think 11's enough for them to hang in and cover that spread. So there's my 1.
Nice and easy. Lawrence, go ahead.
This is an interesting one, and I don't really love this, like, at all, if I'm being honest with you. Completely, I really don't love this at all, because this will be the second time on the podcast I am picking the Arizona Cardinals for my 1-point game. They're getting 3.5, I believe. If someone wants to double check me on that.
You're right.
I haven't looked. Okay. Since he's bad, man. Since he's really bad. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't a great football. I mean, they could be better than everyone thinks, but I don't think they're a great football team, and they massacre Bengals. I mean, it wasn't even close. So, I don't know. Gut feeling, like David, I had 2 games that I loved and one that I really wasn't sure about. I think survival football is even tough this week straight up. But
You should take the Eagles.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. But for spreads, I'm going to take the Cardinals getting 3.5. A 1-point game.
All right, Rye, let us have it.
Alrighty, I'm starting the week off early. I am picking the Thursday night football game, and I am picking the underdog Rams 1.5 at Seattle. I really don't think that this Seattle team is that good. You beat the Bengals, who are terrible. You beat the Steelers, who are also terrible. You lose to the Saints, who's actually a good football team, and then you beat the Cardinals, also not good. So the Seahawks have a 3-1 record, but you haven't really beat a solid football team yet. So I just think the Rams, at some point, this Rams football team has to look good. It has to happen. Law of averages. I'm playing the averages this week. Picking a road underdog. I'm picking the Rams.
All right, I'm sure.
What?
How many
They're
points?
getting 1.5.
1.5, right? I don't think they're that good, man. Those
So,
Rams.
I'm sure you guys can tell by my past 2 weeks, I don't really feel good about any game anymore. I don't really feel good about picking any games. But I did, David, I took some advice from your father. I took my first switch 'em of the year. Me and Ryan are going to the same.
All your picks?
I didn't flip all my picks. I flipped this one,
Just
though.
one?
Me and
You gotta
You gotta flip down the line if you're gonna do that. There's no point in you're just flipping one.
Can I pick my team or?
No, sorry, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a winner this time. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, one of us will have a winner. Me and Ryan are going the same game, but different teams. I'm taking the Seahawks, -1.5 in Seattle against the Rams. I was thinking of the Rams when I first saw this game, but then I realized that the Rams are coming off a real big old gut check that was last week. They're coming off a big gut check, which is what I said about Tampa, and then had to eat my words there, but we'll see. And you're going into Seattle, which is one of the best home field advantages in the sport of football. So I think the Seattle offense is going to take this game on short rest. And yeah, who knows? I'm going against my gut on this one, so hopefully it pays off. All right, David,
So we're moving on to the 2-point picks now, huh? All right, so this is very uncharacteristic of me, but the 2 that I like this week, both pretty big favorites. So Ryan, you might appreciate this one with the Patriots laying 15.5 because the Redskins are just terrible. They're awful, and they may be worse than the Dolphins. I don't think they are on the end of the day, but they're on that. Those 2 teams are on that same level. I think the Pats are going to win by 30. So, I mean, like we've talked about, they show no attempt to slow down or take the foot off the gas. And they're just they only need to score 3 touchdowns to cover that spread because they're not giving up a touchdown. They haven't given up a touchdown yet, have they? Maybe 1 to the Bills, was it? I don't know.
Yeah, they gave 1 BS 1 to the Bills.
Yeah, but the Bills are actually a good football team, and the Redskins are not. So there we go. Pats -15.5. Lock it in.
All right, lock that bad boy in. Lawrence, go ahead.
Stole my thunder, David.
Oh,
You
really?
Stole
That was
my
the one?
thunder. My 2 point. And I was, thinking to myself, do I make this 2? Do I make it 3? But I wholeheartedly agree with you. I'm going to make it 2. It's going to be the Pats laying 15.5, and they're going to absolutely steamroll the Redskins. By the way, since I heard you say that they might just be as bad as Miami, that game is coming up soon.
They're playing?
I think
Redskins and Dolphins?
it might be next week. If it's not next week,
Oh,
it's the
no.
week after. But they both play. It's wild.
The final score of that game is going to be 2-0, and the safety's not even going to be exciting. Some quarterback's going to like trip and fall, and that's going to be the 2 points, and the entire game is going to be 2-0.
Hey,
It's going to be
I'm
like
gonna interrupt.
65 because they're so
I
bad.
want
at
to
defense.
interrupt football again. I want to interrupt football again. I want to interrupt
All
football.
right.
All right. Child, who scored?
Jacob Trouba scored, baby. Let's go. The two biggest
Against the
Rangers
Winnipeg
acquisitions
Jets.
have against his own team. Yes, it's absolutely unbelievable. Sorry. Okay, back to Pick'em. It's 3-2, by the way. Stahl's a terrible defenseman. Everyone's just going to have to let this go in the podcast that we're giving live updates on the Ranger game. It's a season opener. Just let it be. Let it happen.
I think it's okay. I think people understand.
All right.
Lawrence, you done with your pick?
Yeah, Patriots. 8.5. Book it.
All right,
God
we'll book it.
Damn it.
What?
Okay. I turned this game on 1-1. Start of the second period. Panarin scores at the 19.5-minute mark, and then Blake Wheeler scored literally 20 seconds after that. I just erupted because Jacob Trouba scored a goal at the 13-minute mark, and literally 20 seconds after that, Blake Wheeler scored again. So it's 3-3. All right, sorry, go on.
Ryan, quick, make your pick before someone else on Winnipeg scores.
I am taking the Chargers at -6.5. The Chargers are at home. They're playing Denver. I don't think Denver's very good. I think the Chargers are good. Also, Melvin Gordon is back, and reports say that he's going to have a heavy workload out of the gate, and it's going to go one of two ways. He's going to pop off and show everyone that the holdout wasn't a joke and he was worth a lot of money, or 2, he's going to fizzle, do absolutely nothing, and I'm going to lose this pick, and I'm betting on Melvin Gordon having a big week. I'm betting on the Denver Broncos sucking. That's my 2-point pick.
There he goes. All right, so I am picking another game where I think home field advantage is going to be really big. It's all right, David. Don't interrupt my pick again. That's fine.
This one was unintentional.
Okay. So my 2-point pick for this week is another game where I think home field advantage is going to be a really big deal. I'm taking the Cowboys -3.5 against the Packers. I think Dallas has had some really strong showings, and I think Green Bay, while they are a strong football team, has some weak spots, like their receiving core, which is really on and off, and their running back core, which is really on and off. So I'm really counting on Dallas taking this one at home and helping them lead the charge because, again, I don't really like any game anymore. All right, the big kahuna. David, 3 points. Let's hear it.
If you take my pick.
My pick's already been said, so probably not. So I'm going to go with the Chargers as well, laying 6.5 at home. Yeah, at home against the Broncos. That line's just way too small. The Broncos are also an awful football team. And the Chargers, at least I think they're still one of the best teams in the AFC on paper. I don't really know why people are so down on them. I mean, I guess they lost a couple bad games. They look 2-2.
Really
but
too.
Yeah, they're pretty beat up. But, Gordon's coming back, like Ryan said. Defensively, they're very solid. They're pretty well coached. They're not, obviously Bill Belichick's not on the sideline. But there's experience all around. They should really win by a game by well more than 1 touchdown.
Hey, Lawrence, you're back just in time for your pick.
Wow, ain't that funny?
What timing?
So I will not be making a pick that has already been said for my 3-point pick this week. I looked at the lines this morning, and I thought I also saw a favorite that I didn't agree with the spread for. But I thought that Chicago was in Oakland. The Chicago Bears are, in fact, not playing in Oakland. They are playing in London.
Right,
They're
that becomes a thing.
5.5 points as the road team. And I think they absolutely steamrolled the Raiders overseas. They won't be able to handle their defense. A lot of people are saying that Chase Daniel might even be better suited to run Matt Nagy's offense than Mitch Trubisky just because he's been in it longer.
I've been hearing that too.
So I think that's my 3-point play. I was a little nervous because I thought it was in Oakland, and now that I know it's neutral site, makes me a little less weary of the road team. And I think that the Bears are much better than the Raiders. So Chicago, lock it.
Ryan, 3-point pick.
I was going back and forth, and unlike you two, I taken my boys as the 3-point pick. This Patriots defense is far too good. The Redskins don't know who they want to even throw the football anymore. Their defense is atrocious, and if there's one thing that I am confident of is that when a Tom Brady offense struggles in one game, which the Bills gave them a struggle, despite the Bills looking like a middle school football team in the first quarter, that defense did give them some trouble. I think that this Patriots offense pops off, and I don't think they were happy about last week, and I don't think they take their foot off the gas pedal. I think Tom Brady plays all 60 minutes of football, no matter what, and I am getting an easy 3 points in my pocket.
We'll see.
Can't argue with
All
that.
right. All right. Now the worst pick of the week. All right.
Everyone, if you're in Jersey, get your mobile gambling apps out now.
Pick the other way.
Pick the other side of this.
And switch them. So, wait. I'm going to have to wait it out a little bit. I'm putting on my Rex Ryan hat. I am taking the San Francisco 49ers minus 3.5 against the Cleveland Browns. I think Cleveland has been... Yeah, everyone's giving me faces.
I like that
No,
pick,
that's such
actually.
a shame. I'm actually mad. I like the 49ers this week. Why did you have to do that?
Well, I'm sure I don't have to explain myself, but Cleveland's been a very average football team. They've either been really hot or really cold. They don't really know whether or not to feel confident in themselves. Baker says he is, but he never looks it. And they've been, like I've said, they've been really spotty in places. San Francisco has still had all these weapons. They're coming off a bye week. I think this is the team to finally get me some points on the board. I really do.
You're picking against a Brown team that's coming off a hot road win against an even hotter Ravens team. That is bold.
They're also playing an undefeated team this week, though.
Playing an undefeated team last week, too, though. Or no, they
True.
weren't. Ravens were 2-1.
Ravens, yeah, because they lost to the Chiefs.
Yep.
But everyone loses to the Chiefs.
Regardless of how the games play out this week, guys, I'll see you back here at 0-9 this time next week.
Yeah.
So we have
Hey, maybe not. Maybe you get the 6th spot this week. Who
No,
knows?
maybe I get 2 points. What a crazy
Okay,
thought
so
that would be.
before
Not for nothing, calling the 49ers an undefeated team is again a little soft. They have beat the Steelers, who we've gone over suck. They beat
Haven't lost
Cincy,
the game.
who still suck. And then they beat the Buccaneers week 1, who, granted, the Buccaneers just played a great game, but just let's put some weight in the 3-0 when you've beaten 2 middle school teams and the Steelers.
Ryan, grow up.
I'm just saying.
As long as the teams that they're beating are not the Dolphins and Redskins, I think they should count.
That Cincy team is really bad.
No, I know.
All right, so let's decide the punishment now before Luke falls so far out of it that
It becomes targeted.
specifically target something dumb we want Luke to do.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, we're in the pick'em segment. 2 shows ago, episode 2, I made a dollar bet on this podcast that has not been paid, Mr. Hicks.
Yeah.
The Jets covered the spread against the Patriots, and I did not see my dollar.
I'm paying you now. And as I said, I had the dollar on my Venmo ready to go, and then 45 minutes later, you two guys getting off to your Mets, and I forgot. So,
Totally reasonable. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
do you not have a picture on your Venmo?
I do. It's of me and Sal. We're at the catch.
Oh, wow. That's a...
Is it just
Throwback.
Ryan knows what the catch is.
Yeah,
All right,
Ryan doesn't know what the catch
I have
is.
an idea for a punishment. I'll let
Larry?
you.
Is it just
Pink
your
shirt.
What?
It might be Lawrence.
Okay. Yeah. Let me know if you get this.
I have an idea for a punishment. If you boys are willing to hear me out.
All right, we'll review.
Is this like
Okay.
a pick your own adventure for you, Luke?
Sure.
You know what? I can plug my Venmo on the podcast. That's cool nowadays, right? At Lawrence Legrano, LAWRENCERANO. If you want to send me $350,000 in Busch Light money, like that kid from Game Day, I'll donate some to charity. I swear.
It's true. He will.
I'll watch it. Make sure he does it.
So my idea for a punishment is, it's something that affects the 4 of us. And we all know hockey has the playoff beard, but my idea for the punishment is that when the NFL season's over, for the entire postseason, no facial hair.
No facial hair?
No facial hair for the loser for the entire NFL post.
Oh, wait, the NFL postseason.
Yeah.
That's the heart of winter. Need my straggly beard.
I kind of like it.
I like it too. You like it because you have the least facial hair of anyone.
I know, that's why I like it.
Oh, God.
And Ryan's weighing his options because Ryan just got his beard. Ryan's very new to the beard world. So.
I love my beard so much.
It's only, what is it, 5 weeks? Wild card, division, conference, bye week, Super Bowl.
Yeah, it'd be 5 weeks.
So 5 episodes without a beard.
Whoa.
Do you know how long it's been since I've seen my face?
Bet your beard,
Pretty
boys.
much all of January, though, which is the hard part. Because
Bet
it's
your
cold
beard,
out.
boys.
Especially Ryan, where we're at, like, we're going to be waking up some mornings, it's going to be like -2 out. It's like, don't want to deal with that.
I'll also be home.
This punishment also makes sense considering the standings right now because I don't think David's going to lose.
It's so early, dude. We've had, 2 weeks? I could totally go 0 for 6 the next 2.
I know, but you have a full week and more on Luke already after 2 weeks.
That is a good point.
All right, you know what? I'm in. I'll get absolutely crushed by everyone I know that has seen me over the past 3 years with a little child.
All right, we're
You know
doing
what?
it.
I'll be home for most of it. My mom and grandmother will be happy.
We're doing it. We're betting the beards, boys.
Silent deadline.
Man.
Pleasure doing business with you. All
It's
right,
good. It'll actually motivate me to shave because the main reason I don't shave is some lazy.
So, speaking of playoff beards, like Lawrence has been talking about all night, adore yourself in the camera there, buddy. You look
He's
great.
loving it.
Adore yourself in the camera. All right. So, the NHL season is officially here. Opening night saw Toronto feat Ottawa. Capitals took out the Blues. In overtime, the Oilers beat the Canucks, and the Golden Knights overcame the Sharks. Now, we all know
the Blues.
and now this episode's explicit. Thank you, Ryan.
I already said shit.
All right. It's fine. All right. So, gentlemen, I know the Rangers are currently playing, but are there any major takeaways so far from the very young NHL season?
I think the Devils are really good. And no one seems to see it. I don't know why. There's talent everywhere.
Say it again?
The Devils, I think they're really good, and I don't understand why no one sees it. They have talent everywhere. They added a stud defenseman. They added the #1 pick in the draft. They got the best player in the KHL.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting another addition I think that they had that, I don't know. I feel like they maybe not should be the favorite to win the Metro, but at least number 2.
Nope.
I disagree.
Vehemently disagree with it. You know why? Who's their starting goalie in Game 30?
You make a good point.
Who is
David.
it?
Hey.
David, what I'll say
Schneider could fall into a hole in Blackwood's Young. They got question marks in net.
They do have question marks in net. I think that's what it comes down to, why they're so lowly ranked. Well, I just think that they're from the Vegas odds for them to win the East Cup or division, they are very low.
All right.
There you go, got the dollar.
Got the dollar. Perfect.
I paid.
Now,
thanks, Ryan.
David, when you say they're so lowly ranked,
Jets.
where do you see them being
according
ranked
to
as
Vegas.
low? Okay, because I have every prediction that I've seen for the Metro Division has the Devils making the playoffs, whether it be the wild card or the number 3 spot.
No, that's good.
Everyone has them being either somewhere from the second wild card spot to the number 3 spot. Now, I don't think they're going to win the Metro. I think that's easily Washington. And I think Carolina or Pittsburgh will take 2 and 3, and the other one will take the other one. But I could definitely see the Devils being the last wild card team to make it in the East.
I think Pittsburgh's done, man. They don't have it anymore.
I disagree. I think Pittsburgh is finally turning their ship around. They have
some down.
They have some really bad acquisitions, like Brandon Tanev, Eric Goodbranson. Jack Johnson is still on the team. But they did add pieces. They added Dominic Cahoon. They got a few young studs that I think are really going to pay off for them. I think Pittsburgh is still a playoff team. I don't think they're anywhere near a cup contender anymore. But I do think they are a easy playoff team.
So I hate to interrupt here, but we have some breaking news. I just told my wonderful girlfriend about the bet that we all just made, and she responded with, "No, nope, sorry, I didn't sign up for this. Please don't lose." Every single message in all caps. This was my source of hesitation when the bet was first made. I panicked. I embarrassingly caved to peer pressure. And oh my god, I have a lot more than my facial hair on the line now. Oh, sweet Jesus, I better
You're
get hot.
picking for your life now.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Hey, Luke, great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, listen,
Hey,
Ryan was. Even though Ryan's in third, Ryan's been easily talking the most smack out of anyone so far. So, you know what? He's only in third.
That's my thing. That's what I do. The false sense of self-confidence has been my shtick all along. This is my MO. There was never facial hair on the line. It was just for fun or $1. Now my moneymaker on the line. Oh God.
Your moneymaker, yeah. Don't worry, Ryan. You got a lovely personality.
Oh, thanks.
All right.
And back to what we were talking about.
While we're on the topic of hockey, I do want to start a new segment for this podcast, to be named later, but for now we're going to call it the BAMF of the Week. So, my BAMF of the Week is going to go to the St. Louis Blues.
Whoa. Time out.
Yes.
You didn't explain what.
I need to explain
yeah, you need to explain what BAMF
need to explain
what BAMF
acronym.
The show's already explicit, so I'm going to do it. So BAMF stands for badass motherfucker. And my BAMF of the week is going to go to the St. Louis Blues. I'm not sure if you guys saw it now, but they hand-delivered a Stanley Cup ring to Layla.
Who's Layla?
Layla's the little girl that they brought along with them in the playoff run.
I remember now. I didn't know her name, but I remember seeing her on the TV.
Yeah, they brought her to opening night. They had her in the stands. Absolute great move by the St. Louis Blues. Incredible. Have two guys, I think it was Periaco and Petrangelo. Don't hold me to that. Don't hold me to which two guys from the St. Louis Blues brought her the Stanley Cup ring. But they got her own, and they went into her home, and they told her how important she was to the Cup run. Just incredible what this team has done for this young girl going through such a tough fight. And they are my BAMF of the week.
I think, maybe in between shows, we're going to have to, really nail down a definition for what a BAMF is. That is it's a very classy move. I mean, top-notch organizational move by the Blues there, Luke. But I'm just confused at how that makes them badass motherfuckers. Is it just me?
No, I share the same sentiment.
Okay, so you know what?
Did I not lead the segment with "I need a new name"? Did I not start with that?
Oh, no, I guess so. Yeah.
I guess then you're right. Then the name of the little award or the action really is up for interpretation at this point. So we'll figure it out, Luke. This is why this is our fourth show. Speed bumps. You're gonna work the kinks out.
And when
it didn't flow right to me. I don't know.
When I suggested it, no one thought me.
Because when I think of BAMF, I think of the fact that Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal want to kill each other. They made a fake title for a UFC pay-per-view in a week. Not this unbelievably inspirational story. I don't know. It seemed off.
We'll work on it. That's.
I cannot wait. I'm going to be honest. I haven't listened to a podcast yet. I don't like hearing my own voice. I am absolutely going back for this segment.
Way to support the show, Ryan, you jerk. Oh my God.
Just go on Spotify and just leave it on replay just to rack up the views. Rack up the stream.
We're trying to go for ad revenue here. Well, not with all this cursing.
All
Okay.
right.
That was awesome.
So, now that that's out of the way, Lawrence, what time is it?
Is it my time?
It's your time, buddy. What time is it?
Are none of us doing? Does no one else have a badass motherfucker of the week?
I don't really know what it means.
I figured it was so ridiculous.
Out of this one.
Everyone laughed at it. Everyone laughed at it so much. I figured no one had one.
No one else has an inspirational story to share.
Off the top of my head, no, I do not.
Boy, boy.
All right, Lawrence, you want to do your thing?
All right, ready? Mailbag.
It's time for mailbag. All right, let's get
Here.
it going. Let's lead with our biggest story that we didn't cover yet. Monica Wojtal wants to know, how do we feel about CC being left off the ALDS roster?
I think he's hurt.
Yeah, it has to be what it is.
I think he's just got a bum shoulder.
Has to be.
He's old. I mean, they wouldn't have signed him in the beginning of the year if they didn't
So
plan
much
on
money into him.
taking him, because he could totally be a valuable asset out of the bullpen in this series. And he could be back for the ALCS for all we know.
I thought at the beginning of the ALDS your roster was set. Is that the
You
ALCS?
can change it every round,
Okay.
but it's set for this series.
Gotcha. Okay. I gotcha. I'm with you.
You know, I saw Michael K today. Michael K says he knows that they would have went with CC if they could have. So they're almost positive that he's hurt.
Yeah, that's where I was getting that information from, of me thinking he's hurt as well, because that guy knows more about the Yankees than anyone on the planet. So.
Very true. All right. Colby Altarelli wants to know, should PEDs be illegal if they're bringing you to form? Now, Colby was nice enough to give me some context for this question. It's in regards to that Netflix documentary about James Lawrence, who ran the 50 Ironman races in 50 different states. And he was disqualified from some of the races. I haven't seen the documentary myself. Some of the races because to live doing 50 Ironmans in 50 states, you need to be. Yes, Lawrence.
Go ahead, keep going.
Okay, you need.
Now that you've ruined the flow, kick it to me.
Okay. Lawrence, just go ahead.
No, you didn't finish explaining. I need the context.
All right.
I was just trying to signal on video that I wanted to be the first one to talk. I had something. Guys, just keep going.
Okay. Essentially, what was happening was James Lawrence was using IV to maintain his, hydration and making sure that he could still, stay alive after running all this much and doing all this physical activity. And he's been disqualified from a couple of the races because it is illegal to have these kinds of substances in your system 2 weeks prior to a race. So Colby wants to know, should PEDs be illegal if they're bringing you to form? I guess back to your main playing field instead of actually enhancing your performance.
First thoughts. Right away. 50. You need an Ironman in 50 states.
Correct.
Now that is one badass motherfucker.
That's a good point.
That's it. That's all I got. Yeah, I believe it.
Good. I'm happy I ruined your joke. I'm happy. All right. Does anyone have any actual thoughts on this, or are we just gonna make fun of me for all my downfalls this episode?
This
my
is
lack
really
of
good.
ability to pick, my lack of ability to name a segment. What else are we gonna rag on me?
I think that when you talk about PED use, I think there's a massive difference between a guy who gets paid $100 million to the baseball and one of the big four, and a guy who's running 50 Ironmans for fun. And so I think that the guy who's running them to make a statement or for charity or whatever he needed to prove to himself can use all the PEDs he wants. I think when you get into a big money sport, you have a much different perspective of PED usage. So that is my gut instinct. So this guy and come on, the guys who are doing like the world's strongest man competitions, like those guys have been on roids since they were 12. So I think that it's different depending on what you're talking about. I think you can generalize PED use and try to compare what the MLB went through to a guy who ran 50 Ironmans for shits and giggles.
I like your point, Ryan, because honestly, it's true. Like that race it's just a race. But I mean, I don't know if there was a prize. Do you guys know did he win any money or anything like that? But also, PEDs are banned for a reason because they do enhance your performance. And if an Olympic sprinter can have his gold medal taken away for taking Adderall before a race, I think that this guy, it's more than justified that this guy loses it for whatever he did. I don't know.
That's fair. Rules are rules.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys saw me bury my face in my hand before, but to continue the ragging on Luke, Liam McNichols asked, "Hey man, looking to bet on Khabib. What should I bet?" This is a jab at me because I went to go bet Khabib winning his last fight by TKO or knockout, and all my friends said do it by submission. I did not listen, and he won by submission.
Won by submission.
So there we go. Hopefully the ragging on Luke is done for the episode.
This is why you just bet to win the fight, man, because they win the fight to win the fight, and you get money in your pocket.
Yeah, but we don't have the kind of capital to be laying the Vegas odds on Khabib winning straight up.
Oh, was it like stupid?
It was minus.
He's right now he's the best pound for pound fighter.
Oh, I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah,
I'm not really up on my
disgustingly
UFC.
good. I'm way too up on my UFC. I'm the most up I've ever been on UFC.
The last fight I watched was the Diaz fight in like July or August. It was a while ago.
All right.
I missed
friend of the show, Aunt Phyllis wants to know: should Vontaze Burfict be banned for life?
Nah, the year's fine. Honestly, the year's a bit much.
Year's a lot. Yeah, I agree.
I think that he deserves it at this point because he's not trying to play football anymore. He's out there trying to hurt people, and it becomes an issue. He's like the reason that AB is so messed up. Like this whole episode Antonio Brown is having comes from all of the brain damage he got from Vontaze Burfict hits.
I think Vontaze Burfict is kicking himself out of the league. I really don't think the league needs to do it for him. I don't think that any team is going to sign him. And realistically, if he does sign with another team next year, I don't think he lasts 4 games into the season, 5 games into the season until he does something stupid. And he's just kicked out for good anyways. So I think he's writing his own death sentence. Unfortunately, some little slot receiver is going to be on the receiving end of another cheap shot that could potentially end both their careers. But I think that if you're suspending a guy for an entire season, which is, we've seen people kicked and choked and punched, and that has never happened. I think this guy's on his way out anyways.
It's like his 12th offense.
Yeah, it's so bad.
His history is completely miserable. I mean, really god-awful. And football is a violent game. It's inherently a really violent game. But this guy, I mean, there have been so many rule changes since he's entered the league that's trying to protect players and limit headshots. And
it's not only to protect the player getting hit. No, he doesn't at all. But it's to protect him as well, I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Right. And
he doesn't
really No, not at all.
No, not even a little bit.
The year's fine. We'll see what happens. If he does it again, he's screwed.
Yeah. All right. A little more lighthearted question. Lawrence, our resident Ravens fan. John Franklin wants to know.
Did Frankie call me a Ravens fan?
No.
Okay,
this question's for you.
Ravens fan.
John Franklin wants to know: would Justin Tucker win American Idol?
Yeah. I didn't watch the HBO sports special about his opera career that was teased literally every week on Hard Knocks. But that man does no wrong.
Oh, on the kicking news, something we didn't really talk about, but kind of big story. Gostowski put on the IR.
Oh, no. I thought you were talking about Mike Nugent.
Well, Mike Nugent got signed.
No, I thought he was talking about Young Hoku being signed to the Patriots practice squad.
Also got signed.
Really?
But really, really interesting scenario that the Patriots have going for them, and I feel like fans are kind of split on this, and I'm just going to talk about it real quick. Gostowski has been absolutely atrocious the last 2 years, especially in point afters, which has been incredibly alarming. But I am really, really nervous that we're looking at an AFC Championship game where it's a tie game. Seconds are ticking off the clock, and we have to put out Mike Nugent or whoever out there. And I think that could be our downfall. And
or should I say whoever? Am I right? Oh, there's my Young Hoku joke of the episode. All right,
thank you, Luke.
So just on that one, Luke.
Lost story, but something to keep tabs on is the Patriots kicking game moving forward.
And I think if we can get back to the original question here, I think the only person that would beat Justin Tucker in American Idol would be John Franklin. So just get that on the record.
All right. And last question. This is for all 4 of us. Uncle David. David, your father has a question for 4 guys. He wants to know everyone's thought with the Red Sox impending free agent scenario and with the Mets' current overstock of certain positions. How do we feel about a trade of Noah Syndergaard and Michael Conforto for Mookie Betts?
Diaz, I believe, would be in that scenario as well.
Can we you want to just let Ryan get this out of the way, and then he can take a walk or something? Get the Red Sox out of the way.
No, I mean I think it's interesting. I'm really nervous for how the Red Sox handle this situation because Mookie's going to ask for a unfathomable amount of money, and the Red Sox have already said that they're not looking to spend an unfathomable amount of money. I don't think that Mookie Betts will be a Red Sox next year. I think that the price he has set is too high, and the price that the Red Sox can get for him is too high. And I think that with a new front office, they're going to try to do something to shake up everything and say, "Hey, we're here. I'm the new director of baseball ops, and I'm ready to make moves." And I think that it starts with Mookie Betts. So I don't think Mookie Betts is a Red Sox next year.
Well, you look like you want to say something.
Oh no, I was just reacting. And that's all really. If we're gonna, I don't really know the Red Sox. I was not privy to this before the podcast started. Didn't know it was a mailbag question. Just have no research done. Can't tell you a single thing. Really like Ryan though.
There you go.
That's all I got.
David, you look like you'd have a nice stance on this.
Yeah, Mets are too cheap to do it.
Yeah,
I do think that Syndergaard will be traded this offseason, though, and possibly Conforto as well. But they would have to then pay Mookie Betts, and they don't want to do that. I mean, come on.
The Mets payroll is going up this year too. We have to remember that. So even though they're potentially going to get Garis Frazier and who's the last? Wheeler. Stroman's going to make a little bit extra money. DeGrom's going to start making a little more money. They're going to have to start paying some of these younger kids a little more.
DeGrom's not that much more money, but yeah, I see.
Right, but a $145 million team is going to turn into a $156 million team. Those are random numbers, but that pains the Wilpons.
Yeah, but if you trade Conforto and Syndergaard, then there's a big chunk taken off of that.
Right, I get that, but why the hell would you want to do that when you think this roster can, get you into the playoffs, for Christ's sake, with a good manager? Like, I don't know. The Mets are. It's going to be an interesting offseason, I think. To say
Brody has come out and said he's got no intention of moving Diaz or moving Syndergaard. Now we all know
it's a bargaining chip.
I was going to say words are just words when they're in October. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But is this a resounding no deal from all four of us?
Nope.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either.
If I could make it happen, I think I would probably take it, but it's not going to happen.
Mookie's a hell of a ball player. I just don't think
no one's arguing that here.
I don't think the Red Sox are willing to pay him.
Yeah, I don't think the Mets are either.
All right, well, there we go. All right, gentlemen, that's all we have for this week.
Mailbag's over?
Mailbag is over.
Mailbag.
Lawrence, you're not carrying too much mail today. Good job, pal. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate everyone taking time to check out Four Guys Talking Sports, the podcast. Until next week, my name is Luke Lograno.
I really love my beard, and I'm Ryan Hicks.
I'm David Acasella.
And I am the BAMF.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please follow us on Spotify. Please show your support however you can. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you again next week. Take care. Spay and neuter your pets.
Oh, spay and